For months now, I've been warning people that there's a record, historic, unbelievable amount of paper silver shorts in the market, and that it's going to crash the price of silver. I believe that they're going to do it just like they did in 2008, where they're going to crash the price of silver and gold prior to a financial collapse. It's exactly what happened in 2008. They smashed it down from $21 to $8 with no reason, smashed it all the way down, and then as soon as it hit bottom, then all the financial crisis started happening. This is the modus operandi. They want to close the doors, close their short positions out prior to a collapse in the paper market. And I want to show you how important silver is. And I found the most incredible infographic I have ever seen that is a stunning visualization of just how important and how explosive silver is going to be. Now this is from demonocracy.info. They do all these amazing infographics, visualizing, the lunacy of our financial world. We are a world literally swimming in fiat debt-based generational Ponzi scheme money. Every single paper asset out there is a counterparty risk, debt-based Ponzi scheme that runs off of the centralized, privately owned banks of the world. All the central banks in the world are privately owned. There's individuals that own them, and we all own everything to them because the very basis of our financial markets, of our real estate markets, our commodities, everything is based off of the currencies, and they own the currencies, and they're named, Federal Reserve note. Note is a debt instrument. In order for that note to come into existence, debt must be created, usually in the form of treasury bills. The government has to go to the privately owned bank, say, please, could we have another $1 billion, and issue a treasury bond. And when they do that, the Federal Reserve creates Federal Reserve notes out of thin air, gives it to the government, and we have to pay them back plus interest. So all the money in the world is actually debt, and we owe interest on top of it. That way, every single year, that's why if you look at any debt chart, especially the ones together, that's why every year there has to be more debt that's put into the market that's over and above the debt and interest accrued the year before. It's a generational, global Ponzi scheme. And this demonocracy.info infographic is just a stunning example of Exeter's pyramid. Now, John Exeter was a member of the Federal Reserve, and he talked about liquidity. And in good times, things are very liquid, and money flows all over the place. And right now, we're at peak liquidity because these central banks, these privately owned central banks, know that there's a systemic problem that will happen if they do not continue to inject trillions of dollars worth of liquidity every year into the market. And while they throw in QEs and quantitative easings and all these things that they do, it's only profiting those billionaires, those top 0.01% people at the top, because they are involved mostly in these highly liquid, highly leveraged, highly speculative assets out there. Real estate, derivatives, stocks, bonds, all these things out there. They own them all, and the more money that gets pushed in there disproportionately influences their wealth. That's why we see all these billionaires, talking about Mars missions and, living forever and, artificial intelligence. They're not interested in raising the quality of life for the people below them. They're only interested in becoming their own gods. So this demonocracy.info graphic shows the liquidity pyramid. And I've taken the liberty of altering one tiny portion that I feel is just the absolute exclamation point on this entire liquidity pyramid is by adding silver in there. They have gold and real estate and derivatives and stocks and bonds and cash money and money in the banks and near money that's sitting in the banks. But what it's missing is silver, and I really think it's silver versus the world. It's not gold and silver. It's not, I'm going to have cash under the bed. It's not going to be, I'm going to be in safe, Walmart stock or bond of a local community or something like that. It is silver versus the world, and this is why I have invested 100% in physical silver for now over a decade. And I still believe that we haven't had the payoff yet. And when it does, it will be the single largest transfer of wealth this world has ever seen. Because this is the first time we have a global, generational Ponzi scheme that has been built up. This isn't, small things like tulip mania or, the stock market booms of the West prior to, the 2000 tech boom. Where China didn't participate, Russia didn't participate, Eastern Europeans didn't participate, Africa and most of Asia didn't participate in that. Now everybody is involved in this. The Middle East, you look at even Mecca, it's a burgeoning population of capitalism and real estate production. So what this liquidity pyramid shows is that when things get tight, when the system does break, those things that are most risky will be the most illiquid, meaning that there will be zero market for it. And if you look at just the derivatives alone, there's $1 quadrillion in derivatives. I believe that when the system breaks, that $1 quadrillion will instantly become worth zero. Nobody will want any of it because they will be so afraid of the actual currency that they're going to be paid in, and that the illiquid markets will literally turn to zero. If anybody's seen The Big Short, the movie about the collapse of the housing market, it'll be way worse than that because there's not even houses underneath it. They'll literally become zero. But that's what the banks are currently leveraged in, these huge, it's mind-numbing. It goes off the chart. It's taller than the Twin Towers used to be. It is an unbelievable amount of money. That will go to zero. There will be nobody that will buy any of it, mainly because the banks will probably be insolvent, broke, and probably not going to be bailed out. Real estate, everybody's like, oh, real estate's so awesome. Well, I tell you what's real estate when it's a cash basis only? Without derivatives, without a functioning currency, without a bond market, the housing market will implode to 10 cents on the dollar because that's what a cash value would be on a house without a 30-year, 4% mortgage. If you have interest rates that go back to just 8, or 9, which is what it was in 2000, much less 20, or the impossibility of getting a mortgage, then watch those the housing prices collapse. And what does that do to the local tax base? It implodes that. The local economies, most Americans have their long-term savings inside their houses devastated, gone, simply because the housing market will be destroyed. Way worse than it was before. Last time we had a financial crisis, it was an institutional crisis. Now, all those bad debts, now one of them went away. They all got absorbed by sovereign nations and central banks. Now all the risk and all the problems from the prior financial crisis are still there, and now it's a sovereign global problem because it's a global debt problem. It's not going to be institutions that are going to fail this time. It's going to be nations that are going to fail. When nations fail, currencies fail. And watch this liquidity pyramid go down to nothing. Most of this wealth will be evaporated. And it's not that wealth is either created or destroyed. It merely gets transferred from one asset to another. There's always a bear market, there's always a bull market, and nothing is in more of a bear market than silver. Nothing is more undervalued than silver. Nothing is more vital to the very function of our technological life than silver. Nothing is more undervalued and underinvested than silver. When I believe all these fancy and sexy investments like Twitter and Bitcoin and derivatives and stock markets and flip this house and all this other stuff collapses, people will be left cringing to the idea that they just want something real that won't disappear, that won't become instantly worthless. And that's what this demonocracy.info, and I please go there and watch and look at all their charts. That's what this chart points out to, that when the next financial crisis happens, all these stacks of money, these towers of money that they have visualized here, will literally go to nothing because that's what that's what's backing all this. Derivatives will be a zero-sum game. $1 quadrillion wiped off the face of the planet. Non-monetary commodities, which is mainly real estate, which is $180 trillion. Probably will go to 10 cents on the dollar inside of a financial crisis. And if you don't believe me, go to Detroit, go to Venezuela, see what properties go for there during financial crisis, during economic downturns that last forever. Private businesses would be the next thing that would become that are illiquid. In good times, private businesses can be taken public and sell for billions of dollars. And even smaller businesses can sell to other businessmen who are able to loan money at very low rates for long terms through banks and are able to finance and speculate into expanding their business. But when the economy contracts, especially during a global generational Ponzi scheme collapse, there will be no money to be floated around. No one will be interested in taking on more risk or buying businesses when they're not even sure that the economy will exist or what it will come out the other end of it. It is my belief that this consumer debt-based consumer economy that makes up 70% of the United States will no longer exist. Our grandchildren will not know the type of consumerism that has plagued our generations. Outcome the other end of it will be a more real, because we're not going to be able to pull the same Ponzi scheme off, at least not to the extent that we've seen today. They may create another one with a new crypto global currency that I'm sure they're concocting. But it'll take generations, if not it'll take years, if not generations, to produce another one. The stock market. I mean, we have companies that literally have made no money. Look at this Snapchat. Here's a $34 billion company that has lost $500 million in 2016 and probably another $500 million the year before. I mean, the company loses billions of dollars, and yet is somehow worth $34 billion. Even if it's based off of sales, they only had $404 million in sales. So they're trading at 84 times revenue. What is Snapchat going to be worth in a global debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme collapse? Zero. It will cease to exist. Much less the valuations of, say, Apple that I'm recording this on. It's a $500 billion company. Who is going to be buying iPhones and iPads when the people are starving in the streets, that all their wealth has been washed away because they were paying attention to their computers and phones instead of what was real in this world? Their relationships, their skills, their real assets. They don't have any. They don't have any friends. They don't have any real wealth. And they don't have any real skills. Because I tell you what, when this consumer paradigm collapses because of the debt, what will you do? What do you do that produces real value? So if you don't produce anything that's real value, acknowledge it. Learn some skills that might actually be worth something in the next paradigm. But for God's sakes, take your money out of this system and at least have the tangible wealth to hopefully carry you through the next paradigm. The next thing down on the liquidity pyramid of supposedly that is safer is these corporate bonds. But when you realize that these corporate bonds are backed by the ability of these corporations to have cash flow, and the majority of these valuations are in Apple and Google and Snapchat and all these other silly technological companies that sell a dream. All those cash streams could dry up instantly, because who's going to be buying all this computer stuff when real things happen like wars and collapses and financial crises? It always hurts earnings and their ability to pay. There might be some that are strong, but still the valuations of those are going to drop tremendously. Then you have government bonds. It's got to be safe, right? Donald Trump even said himself, you can't ever default on a bond because they'll just print more money.
People said, I want to go and buy debt and default on debt. And these people are crazy. This is the United States government. First of all, you never have to default because you print the money. I hate to tell you, okay? So there's never a default.
The United States can pay any debt it has because we can always print money to do that. So there is zero probability of default.
That's the problem. This time around, in the last financial crisis, the smart thing to do was to buy, to get cash, to get liquid, to be safe, to have money available to take advantage of these markets, okay? The next financial crisis, it's because the last one was institutional, and the sovereign nations bailed them out. This financial crisis, the very thing that worked last time, will be the very curse this time. You do not want to be in cash because they are going to destroy the currency because it's their only way out. So I believe that we're going to have a crash first, just like they're going to, they did in 2008, and that their response is going to be magnitudes worse. I mean, Trump is already talking about, with this latest tax plan, increasing the debt more than Obama. Like, we didn't even think about that. And that's before a financial crisis. After a financial crisis, you can, God bet that they're going to load even on more debt to try to bail out and repump the system up and stuff like that. That's where the hyperinflation is going to happen. That's where people are going to go, aha, I do not want to hold something that they can create out of thin air and flow into economy that will ultimately reach down the liquidity pyramid into real things. People are going to want food, gas, water, gold, silver, things that that they can touch, feel, and secure. Not quadrillions of derivatives, not stocks, not IPOs, not money in the banks that are failing, not CDs, not bonds, not treasuries, or not any of these things. They want what is real. This world is swimming in a complete paradigm of debt and death. And when this starts to fall apart, watch how quick people wake up. Watch the real animal instincts kick in. And that's why this liquidity pyramid is so vital, that you understand that all these mountains of debt will burn.
Everything burns.
Further down the liquidity pyramid into the more safer assets is the treasury bills. They may be able to pay their debts, and Alan Greenspan says they can pay unlimited amount of debt, but what they cannot guarantee is the purchasing power of that money.
Do you still believe that we should maintain the fundamental principles of Social Security as he did in 83?
I think we should maintain the principles of Social Security, but I think the existing structure is not working, and that until we can construct a system which creates the savings that are required to build the real assets so that the retirees have real goods and services, we don't have a system that's working. We have one that basically moves cash around. And we can guarantee cash benefits as far out and at whatever size you like, but we cannot guarantee their purchasing power.
You got to understand that this is their plan the whole time. They know this is going to happen, and they know what to do. They're going to continue to print more and more money until it collapses, because they're going to buy up all the real assets that they can, and then they will use it to kickstart another global generational Ponzi scheme, which humanity will most likely fall for again, because they will be begging for the halcyon days where they could watch porn on an iPad and order pizza. The smart thing to do is recognize that this is an unsustainable global generational Ponzi scheme. To cash out wherever you can, your IRA, your 401k, your real estate market, your stocks, your bonds, your cash in your bank, and get into real things. You better have 1 million calories stored. You better have the ability of defending yourself. And for God's sakes, please buy some silver. Silver is the most undervalued vital asset in the world, and we're going to see through this liquidity pyramid why. We also get down to even cash in the bank. I already mentioned before, last financial crisis, the best thing to do is to have cash in the bank, because then you can go out and go buy all these distressed assets, knowing that the sovereign nations of the world are going to bail out through their central banks, the markets, and reignite the liquidity pump that we've seen, to watch all of these assets rise to tremendous values, even though there has been no real recovery in the economy, that there's been no real reform in the economy, that none of the debts that caused the problem got erased or wiped out or paid for. They simply got absorbed up by the governments and the central banks of the world. And now it's a global, generational Ponzi scheme. This is going to happen at a sovereign level. And what they're going to do is print money to the point where money has no value. That's what the crack-up boom of the Austrian economists have been predicting. That's the end of this thing. We're going to have a crash and a huge reinflation that's going to destroy the actual currency. So what's left? Well, according to their original demonocracy graphics, you got gold. Gold has lasted forever. It has intrinsic value. It's portable. It's liquid. It's valuable. It's recognized throughout all time and all humanity. You could go, space travel back to Neanderthal times, or probably 100, years from now. Gold will still be a currency. It will still have value because it is rare, it is beautiful, and it's treasured. But I don't like gold at all. I own one ounce. That's it, and it's for display purposes only. Everything I have is in silver. Silver has industrial uses. It has historical money uses. In fact, many of the languages of the world, silver and money are the exact same word. It is vital. You know, you think about all this technological advancement, you need to have silver. It's being consumed. All the gold that's ever been mined in the world has been treasured and, you know, either put into jewelry, put into vaults, but has never been destroyed. Silver has been treated and abused as an industrial metal, not a monetary asset, not a vital asset. And majority of the silver that has been mined over the years has been lost. It has been, you know, either, lost in consumption through all the toxic landfills all over the world used in consumer products. It's used in such small quantities that it's not even worth recovering. You know, you're really going to dig through all these landfills and burn all away the toxic fumes just to re-get the silver that we used? No, there's physically less silver above the ground than there is gold. There's 6 times more physical ounces of gold above ground than there is silver. Yes, out of the Earth's crust, silver is 9 times more abundant, meaning that there's 9 times more silver. So every time you mine an ounce of gold, you will find, around the world, 9 more ounces of silver. But silver is consumed. There's a constant deficit. Every ounce of silver that's produced out of the earth is consumed and gone. And the stockpiles of silver are becoming, smaller over time. So in this chart, I show you what the physical amount of silver is. All the gold in the world, which is $2.5 trillion, and the silver is represented by 1 billion ounces of it. So in the chart that I did, I showed 1 billion ounces of silver. That's what I've heard is the amount of investable silver around the world that can be gotten at any time. That's the world stockpile of silver. And in 1950, it used to be 5 billion ounces, and it's been destroyed. Central banks do not own any silver. There's no stockpiles of it anywhere. Majority of it is found in these ETFs and all these, silver eagles and maple leafs and bars and stuff all over the world. But the supply has been shrinking while gold every year has been adding to it. Slowly but surely, there's more gold every year than there is than the year before, and that's not the case with silver. So when I say it's silver versus the world, you can look through this Exeter's pyramid and realize that all the other assets out there, every single one of them, pales in comparison to the value that silver brings. Silver is the most liquid, the most vital, the most undervalued, one of the most rare commodities out there, and yet it's been treated like nothing. It's worth a mere $17 billion. 31,000 tons of silver in the world. 31,000, that's it. That means just one of those 31,000 tons of silver would sell for just over $500,000. Now just think in your local community. Think about the valuations of the houses. Think about the people that might own businesses there. You probably know a millionaire or two who have money in the stock and bond and real estate market. There's only 31,000 people in the world that could ever own 1 ton of silver. That's it. There's 8 billion people out there, but only 31,000 people could own $500,000 worth of silver at any one time. To give that perspective, there's only like 2,000 billionaires in the world. Billionaires. You only need $500,000 to buy this, but there's 2,000 billionaires in the world. Conceivably, 1 billionaire could buy it all, but they would know right away that buying all that silver is a direct challenge to the people that own and control the debt and death paradigm, the ones that own the central banks of the world, the one that own the politicians, the media, the legal system, and everything. That's why people like the Hunt brothers ultimately got destroyed. Warren Buffett, who made a move into silver, ultimately had to sell all of his silver in the AIG scandal, which I believe happened. And that none of these billionaires could ever touch it. That's why they keep touting their paper assets, because that's where their power derives from. But there's nothing stopping you. There's only 31,000 people who could buy 1 ton of silver at just over $500,000. And just in the United States alone, there's close to 16 million millionaires out there. 16 million. If 31,000 of those guys decided to even do half of their wealth, say $500,000 into physical silver, there would be no physical silver in the markets. Now, we all know that that would ignite the price of silver to unbelievable rounds if somebody went in there and tried to buy all the silver in the market. It's a very small market and will react quickly when it happens. It hasn't happened yet because we're swimming in this debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme liquidity that's been fueled by all these central banks, governments, media, to get us into all these intangible, debt-based, counterparty risk assets. Because that's where they get their power from. They don't get their power from people stacking physical silver and getting their wealth outside the system. So I hope this little video, this infographic, has given you pause to reconsider reinvesting in silver. It is at the bottom. This is the 6-year anniversary of their attack when silver hit $50 in 2011, May 1st, when they supposedly killed Osama bin Laden. USA! USA! Today's the 6-year anniversary of this bear market. It will turn around, and when it does, it will be the single largest transfer of wealth. It will not matter what you paid for your ounces. It will matter that you actually had ounces. Because when this liquidity pyramid catches fire, all you will care about is how many ounces that you own. This is the major reason why I've implemented my new mini mintage strategy. And for those of you that don't know this, every week I'm releasing a new design that's only available for 1 week, that comes with a certificate of authenticity, that is priced competitive, if not cheaper, than all the government bullion programs out there. They're more rare, they find instant collector's value, and they're the best investment in silver I can think of. This week we have the 2017 1 ounce abundance. This is a uniquely positive design. I usually have a lot of designs exposing the debt and death paradigm with Slave Queen and Dollar Dragon and all these other designs that I do out there. But I decided to put out a very positive design out there because this is what we're working for. I hope that people aren't investing in silver to eventually, hit it big and go to Vegas and go buy Lamborghinis and hookers and Coke. I hope that we're going to be investing in silver to create an abundant paradigm on the other end of it. Something that is real and that invests themselves into people and the well-being and development of individuals, not just to consume more. That's not what this is about for me. We should be building sustainable, loving, abundant communities, reconnecting with people. And this capital transfer, this single largest transfer of wealth, I believe is going to be the key to doing that. There's a lot of well-wishers out there who want to pray and prep for God, but they're going to be broke. You need to have real capital, especially when you see the world is going to collapse. Okay, you cannot build cities off of bullets unless you're going to be some, neighborhood warlord. If you're planning on being a scarcity-minded individual and having seeds and doing that, there's been millions of serfs throughout the years that have tried to just do survivalism. It doesn't work. You need to have abundant. You need to have capital and the people and the skills to be able to attract real wealth and create something that's meaningful. And I believe this mini mintage is going to be a big part of it. All these Silvershield designs that I have defied the bankers' paper manipulation of silver. Because once they're produced, it no longer matters what the spot price of silver is. There's an instant collector's value out there that has been proven over the last 5 years that I've been doing this. That it's not worth the melt price of silver. I used to invest in 100-ounce bars of silver or silver eagles. They will always be worth spot plus whatever the market is. They will never have any collector's value in it. They'll never be worth more than what you buy it for. In fact, it's always worth less when you go to trade it in at a dealer because they have access to markets where they can go buy it cheaper. And there's more risk for them to buy it off the public. So it's more difficult to get rid of eagles, maple leafs, and bars and try to make money off of it than it would be to buy these new mini mintages that are selling for as little as $2 over spot and as high as $3 over spot, depending on the volume that you buy. And you can see by my chart, I told you from the day one that when this came out, these will go up in value simply because of supply and demand. We're only making a few thousand of them, and once they're done, that's it. So we're literally over 6 weeks into this, and so far, every week, every single one of them has almost gone up double in value on eBay. Okay, I'd be happy if it went up 10%, just a little bit more than what an eagle is, just to justify, hey, if I'm going to buy an ounce of silver today, do I buy an eagle? Do I buy a mini mintage? Well, the mini mintage is proving to be a little bit better investment at 10%, but when it's double, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you sell your eagles to go buy the latest one that, could conceivably be the next double? Now, I'm not saying this is going to last forever, and it may go down to only going up 50%, but they will always go up more than the hundreds of millions of eagles that are produced every year, or the buffaloes, or the maple leafs, or anything else out there. You know, until we start producing of equivalent mintages, you know, conceivably we're always going to hold some sort of premium over it because we're always attracting new people to the Silvershield line. There will always be new buyers that are coming in to look for older issues. We have hundreds of back issues that have been created over the past 5 years, and they're unique in that this is the only metal out there that is predicting this debt and death collapse, that this global generational world has been diluted by all these the banksters, central banks, and we're calling this ahead of time. Can you imagine Roman coins being produced back predicting the collapse of the Roman Empire? You know what those would be worth now, or the coins that mock the end of the British Empire. But this is a global generational debt-based Ponzi scheme that will be the single largest transfer of wealth. I would think that the asset of silver in itself, silver versus the world, is going to be worth way more than it is today. More purchasing power. You'll be able to transfer an ounce of silver for, I don't know, to pay off your house, to buy an acre of land, to buy whatever. You'll directly transfer silver into other real tangible assets. That's what silver is. It's money, and it will find its role again. It has no monetary value right now. Okay, it's mainly sought as a commodity and an industrial use. And one day we will get the single largest transfer of wealth when humanity craves real tangible wealth, and that there's real markets that they can no longer manipulate this price in. So silver by itself is going to be a tremendous investment. But silver with meaning on it, silver with purpose, silver that caused and predicted all of this, that's going to be something special. And that's what I'm stacking for. I'm not stacking for me. I'm stacking for my children and for future communities and to build something positive in this world. We no longer have to play a part of this debt and death paradigm. We can control our future. They don't control us. We empower them. The best way out is to take away your wealth, take away your consent, and start stacking for a better day. So if you're interested in this latest mini mintage, go to the details section below. In order to find out about this on a weekly basis, join my free mailing list. It's at silvershieldexchange.com. It's a free weekly email. I'm not going to pester you with spam or anything like that. You'll get one email a week that'll show the latest mini mintage design, and every week we'll come out with a new design, sell as much as we can, close it down, produce it all, and ship it all at the same time. And they've been proven over time to go consistent value over and above any other physical silver you can buy out there. So take a look. But more importantly, take action.
Where do you put your money? What's the #1 conviction trade right now for you, 2020?
Silver.
Silver?
Silver?
Yeah.
Why not gold?
Because when you look at the relative values of silver and gold, silver today is about, let's say, 65% below its prior peak. Gold is getting very close to its prior peak.
Can it go exponential like we're seeing in some of the non-precious metals?
I think there's a high probability of that. I would call monetary policy a policy of bubble to bubble. For instance, to save the economy after the stock market crash, right? The Fed cut rates and overinflated commercial real estate, and then we had to bail out the banks with the Resolution Trust Corporation. So then once things calmed down again, investors no longer thought that commercial real estate was safe, and they inflated the internet bubble to the wealth effect to keep the economy going. And then, of course, it went bust, and so then people didn't feel safe in stocks, so they started buying homes. And we played that out, and it bust. And so my attitude is when you look at the amount of leverage in corporate America, and where we are today, you definitely are inflating a bubble here in credit.
Is the elasticity or malleability of the system there so we can respond and react when we get that? Or is it a jump condition where it's going to be ugly?
Well, one of my colleagues at Guggenheim likes to say that asset prices go up on an escalator and they come down.
Well, normal.
And
Absolutely.
They come down in an elevator,
yeah.
right? So the problem is, since nobody I know is smart enough to figure out when the music stops, I I think that's a really difficult thing for people to try to time.